board is covered in the thing. Social housing and the need for community, not my backyard. Okay? We know that people who live in social housing are often better tenants than some of your regular neighbors. And, some of you might have your neighbor who'd rather not live next to it. I hope your neighbor doesn't think that about you. We have that. So that we want to work on that and work with different groups to try to get more realistic application and amount for social housing services within the neighborhood. So we are focused on the public good, we public good side of our focus on our consensus. But some of the research we're doing, we're hoping will reach out. I'm very happy that Claudia is on and looked at the report. She's going to be asked to post a report to their website. Because she's read it, she says this is a great resource. We've been talking to Christ Church in Garden Street here, and there's some things in those that may be a section of the third project down the road. So we're looking at doing something within that center, and we're going to be calling on your help. There's a couple of other research ideas we've got. There's a little more work, and we're going to be looking for ways to contact how they're doing. So we'll be looking for feedback as well.
Thanks very much, Dennis. The public good society does great work in our community, and whatever it is that you're charging, we'll buy a bunch of those reports and make them available for people if they want. So we're only constantly trying to bring people. No hesitation supporting whatever good work you're doing. Thank you very much. So now we'll open it up to questions and comments. People, as Marcella asked, she's here to hear what you have to say, your ideas, and take them away and help us as we go forward, as is Kim. So if you would just indicate who you are, I don't need your social insurance number, I don't even need your last name. Whatever it is you want to be called, and part of the community you're in would be great. And then if you would indicate what it is you have to say, and we'll try to keep it limited. If I was, for example, in the audience, people would limit me to 2 minutes at the most, and they would have to, because otherwise I won't. But I won't, and I'm not in the audience, so you don't have to worry. But if you would indicate that you want to speak, I'll put you on a list, and I'll go to you, and we'll just keep going around the room. Okay? Gentlemen over here, and here, and there, and there, and there. Okay, you go. I'm sorry. I'm going to need you to stand up and maybe try to project your voice, and we're going to put you the mic in front of you. Your name?
My name is Chris.
Chris?
Yeah. My name is Chris Moran, and this question is for the commercial officer. It might be a stupid question on which one.
Can't hear you. You have to put
it might be a stupid
that's
question,
it.
I'm not quite sure, but...
You didn't have to say that again.
Well, we'll find out.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, the CMHC is called, the subsidies you were talking about is that they apply to income, and that the subsidies provide an extra home pays more than 25% for rent. Does that include all income, including things like assistance and injury benefits and stuff like that?
I assume so. First of all, I'm not going to have all the answers here today.
No.
If I don't know the answer, I'll find it. But it's for specific projects. The groups that struck deals with the government, federal government, several years ago. So, for example, if you're living in a co-op that was built in 1979, and they had, when it was built, they had this kind of mortgage with the CMHC. Part of it was to make sure that nobody would pay more than when they earned more than 25% of what they earned in rent, welcome my solution.
Okay, thanks, Chris. And if we're not able to deal with your specific question during this session, you come and talk to Matthew, and we'll try to deal with it later on. I had, anyone in the brown top? Okay, you're good. Oh, I had brown and red top. Yeah, you had okay.
I'm Mary Ann Walker, and I was born and raised in Dartmouth North. And I just recently moved out of Dartmouth North due to the living conditions after 4 years of being here. And I have a prepared statement, and I'm not here really talking, I'm talking on Dartmouth North issue and the provincial issue, and I'm not really about public housing and social housing. I'm here on representing other tenants that are primarily the majority of tenants that live here in this area. Dangerous building conditions. Good and honest ethical apartment building owners in Nova Scotia, I'm sure, can consider themselves successful in real estate when they have full buildings. They have full buildings when they have happy tenants. And they have happy tenants because those particular building owners are truly committed to genuine customer care and customer service, and provide quality rental properties. They actually do this by keeping their apartment building premise in a good state of repair and fit for habitation during the tenancy, and comply with any Nova Scotia statutory enactment or law respecting standards of health, safety, or housing. In other words, they keep their property in good working order so that issues caused by property being in bad condition, such as structural and exterior problems, are avoided. I want to know, 1, why there are certain building owners that are not legally responsible for repair conditions that seriously affect their apartment buildings and rental units habitability. Why building, number 2, why building code standards for structural, electrical, plumbing, and heating, and fire safety laws are not being enforced. Number 3, I want to know why dangerous apartment complexes are allowed to exist while the building owners profit. And number 4, I want to know why there are so many tenant complaints continuing to fall on deaf ears. And number 5, I want to know how the certain building owners find ways to deceive renters in ways that are illegal but unenforceable. I say it is because certain building owners take advantage of the fact that Nova Scotia is totally a lax regulatory environment where the interest in issues and indeed the basic health and safety of so many tenants, primarily low to modest income households, are not considered all that important. The purpose of the Nova Scotia Residential Tenancies Act is to provide building owners and tenants with an efficient and cost-effective means for settling disputes. Disputes are one thing, but most tenants who have the largest conflicts and peace with their building owners cannot afford the time and money it would take to take their legitimate complaints to the Nova Scotia Residential Tenancy Board, or small claims court, or the class action suit to the Supreme Court of Canada, all a very long and costly process. It is despicable to hear the litany of complaints that continue to fall on deaf ears about the unhealthy homes, poor maintenance, and corporate callousness. It is obvious there is a huge flaw in the Nova Scotia residential protection. The Nova Scotia Residential Tenancy Board is not adequate enough to address and protect all tenants' rights. Federal, provincial, and municipal politicians should have dealt with this outrageous, despicable dilemma long before the living conditions of many of these apartment rental complexes here in Dartmouth North reached the conditions they are in today. Under the Nova Scotia NDP government, and I am not here for any political party representation, I am here as a concerned citizen and a person that left Dartmouth North that they could not tolerate the does now in Nova Scotia meant to be increased by any amount. In other words, building owners determine rental rates for their units. Therefore, all property owners, which includes slum building owners, and we all know who they are, no longer have to apply or justify the rental increases and the amount through the Residential Tenancy Board. Who is going to be the watchdog for any tenant in the province of Nova Scotia now? If a slum building owner refuses to do repairs or keep their buildings up to municipal building code standards, why did Premier Darrell Dexter and his NDP Nova Scotia government decide to pave the way to financially reward any building owner who refuses to keep their apartment buildings and premises in good state of repair, clean and fit for habitation, or up to date with municipal building code standards? By doing so, this will continue to affect the health, safety, and overall well-being for many of our most vulnerable citizens, seniors, and so many other Nova Scotia tenants who live in low to modest income apartment rentals. And I'll be very clear, I am not referring to any tenant who resides in a public housing rental program apartment building for low to moderate and modest income by reason of funding provided by the government of Canada, the province or municipality, or any agency thereof. I believe slum building owners will extract higher rent, and why not? Nothing to stop them now. Rest assured, tenants will end up paying more for the same old crappy, unhealthy, and unsafe housing with poor maintenance. May the tenant withhold rent for repairs in Nova Scotia? No. A tenant must make an application with fee for dispute resolution to take action for repairs. There have been many applications filed, one by one, for tenants with Service Nova Scotia Municipal Relations residential tenancies, but this is not designed for en masse filing by tenants. Any new tenant law for Nova Scotia should stipulate that any apartment building owner's capital expenditures eligible for rent increases must be needed repairs and renovations, not done for cosmetic, for purely financial reasons, and or not be needed due to years of property owner's neglect. No landlord, especially slum building owners, should be financially rewarded for letting their buildings go into such disrepair. Therefore, orders preventing rent increases should be at the command or order of the municipality bylaw enforcement officer. The province should freeze the rent, and this would be different than holding rents in escrow on the unit or units until such repairs are, first, complete, 2, properly inspected, 3, deemed safe and fit for habitation by a municipal bylaw enforcement officer, signed and dated by that officer, and a copy be given to the tenant. 2, false advertising in the most blatant of context is illegal. However, advertisers still find ways to deceive consumers in ways that are illegal, or technically legal, but unenforceable. They use false or misleading or deceptive advertising, which has potential to persuade people into renting apartment units that they might otherwise avoid. For example, potential renters, and it happens here every single day, and it's been happening especially since 2005, but since 1966.
The year I was born.
Potential renters worrying about the conditions the rental unit they view won't be fixed once they sign the lease, and worry about being locked in if there is a major problem or problems. How often do potential renters pay their damage deposit, first month's rent, and on the moving day find the apartment rental unit to be hardly in the condition they were told it would be? Before a landlord rents the property, it should meet municipal property standards, zoning bylaws, fire safety regulations, and local building codes. It is the building owner's responsibility to ensure that the place does not deteriorate below these standards. are not worth the paper they are written on. Weeks, months, and even years have passed. The work never starts. False hopes, false promises. If a tenant complains about work not being done, then they are labeled as troublemakers.
That's right.
Either these tenants will go if they don't like it, move, intimidation.
Yeah.
Or the property management representatives will not renew the lease on the rental anniversary date. Unjustified evictions.
Nice.
Food for thought. The California Supreme Court case, I'm saying this because never in the history of Canada, and I will state this, do we have it? I respect you as an NBC member and critic for housing, but every single politician in the history of Canada, both provincial, federal, and municipal, has to be held accountable. We elect you, you are elected officials to represent us, and never has anybody represented us, especially here in North Dartmouth. Here's the thought from the California Supreme Court case, and I just want you all to know that Aaron Brockovich is in support of all of you here in Dartmouth North, and I've been in contact with her, and this is war. I draw the line today.
Yeah.
Before renting a rental unit to a tenant, a building owner must make the unit fit to live in or habitable. Additionally, while the unit is being rented, the building owner must repair problems that make the rental unit unfit to live in or uninhabitable. The building owner has this duty to repair because of the California Supreme Court case called Green versus Superior Court 130, which held that all residential leases and rental agreements contain an implied warranty of habitability. Under the implied warranty of habitability, the landlord is legally responsible for repairing conditions that seriously affect the rental unit's habitability. Bottom line, no tenant in the province of Nova Scotia should be living in less than desirable housing conditions, regardless of their income and status. No neighborhood should look neglected and unattractive anywhere in the province of Nova Scotia. If you can remember who I am, and not that I want to get into picking what landlord is who, but I just want to say, in November 2011, one of the CBC Marketplace investigating consumer watchdog journalists, Tom Harrington, met with a few tenants of one of the nationwide apartment rental companies, Transit Property Management Services, controlled by Toronto real estate mogul Daniel Zimmer, and uncovered a disturbing history since its inception into Canada in Ontario in 1994, and a litany of complaints about unhealthy homes, poor maintenance, and corporate callousness. The 8-month Marketplace investigation documented serious health and safety violations, including leaking roofs, mold, and structural problems. Marketplace also found more than 200 charges that this company faced related to violations of housing standards and fire safety laws. This was in Ontario. On hidden camera, viewers heard what tenants were told when shopping for a new apartment, and with the help of experts, Tom Harrington put apartments to the test. What they found was troubling, so they looked for answers from the people at the top. Daniel Zimmer refused an interview by his former CEO, a right-hand man, and at the time of the airing of the CBC Marketplace segment, new CEO of the publicly open transfer apartment REIT, Kelly Heschuk, agreed to an interview. During the interview, Mr. Heschuk stated that he was a new guy in town and was going to do things differently than Daniel Zimmer, promising positive changes, and those were related to Dartmouth North. Those changes were to include Dartmouth North since 2005, and when Daniel Zimmer was allowed to come in here and take the Bell and Lancaster properties over. Michael Shasta, who spoke with Marketplace for the investigation, is a rental housing expert and and a director of the Toronto-based Wesley Institute for Shapstock. Listen to me very carefully. The news of transfer privatization set off alarm bells. He said that tenants may lose in this deal if they live in a province without rent control legislation. We have no rent control legislation in Nova Scotia now. As financing costs get passed down, if that happens, he says, tenants can end up paying more for the same old crap in housing. Mr. Shapstock also stated that any past, present, and future farms imposed by any law, inspection team against this type of building owner, which includes our bylaw enforcement here, municipal bylaw enforcement here in Nova Scotia, it's just the cost of doing business. No doubt some bookkeeper or accountant somewhere in the bowels of this type of building owner counts up the fines and probably are comparing back to what it would cost to actually bring the buildings up to proper health, safety, and fire standards. Fast forward to CBC News Post, April 26th of 2012, and this is a related story to CBC Marketplace, Trouble for Rent. Transfer of Apartment REIT in a $1 billion privatization deal. Transfer of Apartment Real Estate Investment Trust REIT has reached the